the 11th of April, 2026, Saturday morning. We're in chapter 19.7 in Buddha Dhamma, compiled by Somdet Prat Buddha Gosa Charya. English name P.A. Payuto. On page 1929 to 1935, the Buddhist way of solving problems. We're going to read A, the consistency of human nature. B, prioritization and unique understanding. C, profundity, complexity, and true importance. D, the interconnectedness of all facets of life. E, different levels of conducting one's life. F, the nature of all sentient beings. And then the summary of all of it. Starting on the bottom of 1929, chapter 19.7, the Buddhist way of solving life's problems. Some people understand that Buddhism teaches that every kind of problem, including economic and social problems, should be solved exclusively in the mind. They claim that such an attempt to solve problems is unlikely to be adequate or truly effective. To address this claim, one should focus on two separate issues: key Buddhist principles for solving problems and those teaching on problem solving, which are given emphasis or preeminence. Key principles are: there are two important attributes to the Buddhist way of solving life's problems: to solve problems at their source and to solve problems through human ingenuity. Combining these, people are encouraged to solve problems by themselves, by dealing directly with the causes and conditions for these problems. Dealing directly with these causes and conditions is non-specific. It refers to both internal and external causes. In light of personal responsibility, Gautama Buddha encouraged people to first focus on themselves when encountering a problem. They should not focus on the external causes or solutions by saying focus on celestial forces or on fate, rather than depend on praying to a higher power or a deity or making time waiting for their destiny to come to fruition. People should actively engage with the causes and conditions lying behind the difficulties. The prominent teaching, Buddhism teaches to solve both internal and external problems, both social and spiritual problems. The teachings on the level of moral conduct address external matters, while those on the levels of mental development and wisdom address internal matters. According to the main emphasis of the teaching, or the amount of subject material in the Tipitaka, it is evident the more attention is given to addressing internal or spiritual problems than to the external or social problems. This is normal and appropriate for the following reasons. First, the consistency of human nature. For the most part, internal or spiritual problems are matters connected to human nature. In other words, the basic features of mental problems are identical for people in every place and every time period, regardless of different cultures and different eras. The nature of human mind remains the same. Human beings universally possess greed, hatred, and delusion. Moreover, you see, they cherish happiness and are averse to suffering. In terms of external or social problems, some aspects of these are tied up with human nature. As long as one is a human, certain kind of social problems are inevitable. Many kinds of social problems, however, are dependent on environmental factors, the details of which vary gently or greatly according to the time and place. It is for this reason that Gautama Buddha primarily taught about solving internal spiritual problems. As for the teaching on moral conduct, on solving external problems, Gautama Buddha taught general principles that are linked to human nature. Given the example, to abstain from verbally or physically injuring others, to abstain from violating others' possession or cherished objects, and to offer mutual assistance and support. Furthermore, details of these problems are dependent on various environmental, regional, and temporal factors. It is up to people who understand the general principles of solving problems to then establish moral codes and methods for addressing specific situations according to attendant causes and conditions. In these cases, it is not a matter of laying down fixed rules applicable to all people. Take the example of addressing a specific circumstances is that Gautama Buddha's express system of dealing with social issues in the context of the Bhikkhu Sangha, which he had established himself. Gautama Buddha laid down the monastic discipline, the Vinaya, which is an intricate system of attending to social issues consistent with the unique aims of the monastic community and suitable for its stability amidst the surrounding conditions at all times. Contemporary Buddhist scholars tend to overlook the Vinaya. If one comprehends the gist of the Vinaya, however, one will understand that the Buddhist notion of attending to social issues. Indeed, if one does not study the Vinaya Pitaka, one of the three baskets from the Dipitaka, especially the subject material distinct from the Patimokkha, it is not possible to properly understand the Buddhist outlook on society. It is unreasonable to expect Gautama Buddha to have established a comprehensive code of conduct for the general public, disregarding the fluctuations and changes that occur during the time and the place in society. Those people who understand the essential Buddhist teaching on outward conduct are able to establish a system by themselves for dealing with their particular social problems and questions. Take the example when King Asoka the Great wished to consolidate the Dhamma Vinaya in his empire. He did not need to meddle with the Buddhist teaching on internal spiritual matter. He simply propagated the true teachings on these matters in a way suitable to the time period. In relation to external social matters, however, he drew upon general Buddhist principles and then set down new standards and customs of ruleship and an enterprise that were effective and appropriate for his time period. Similarly, in Thailand, in relations to the tradition of the royal governance, general Buddhist teachings on the responsibility of the monarchy have been determined as the essential principles, and their meaning interpreted to suit the contemporary era. Examples for such teachings include the 10 royal virtues, Raja Dhamma, the 12 duties of the great ruler, Sakhavati Vata, the 4 royal acts of service, Raja Sanghavatu, the 5 strengths, Bala, of the king. Likewise, systems of government administration have been formed and established appropriate to specific time and place. Prioritization and unique understanding. The solving of external and social problems is generally seen as priority by academics and by various scholarly institutions. On the contrary, spiritual matters and the development of human wisdom gets relatively little attention by scholars. who often do not appreciate its significance. Buddhism considers spiritual matters to be a vital importance. The more these matters are neglected by general scholarly circles, the more attention they deserve. Moreover, Buddhism offers a unique insight into these matters. Profundity, complexity, and the importance. Spiritual matters are profound, refined, and much more difficult to comprehend than external matters. In comparison to social issues, it may take 10 times longer to explain spiritual matters, which need to be repeatedly underscored, or for the reason it is normal that these scriptures from the Dipitaka contain more teachings on spiritual matters. Furthermore, Gautama Buddha considers spiritual well-being to be true purpose of human life. Having been born a human being, one should try to reach the state of well-being and not live one's life in vain. People generally do not recognize the importance of subtleties of spirituality, and thus its details needs to be reiterated and emphasized. Moreover, people are already keenly engaged in seeking external or material well-being. Even if one does not stress the form of well-being, it will still be sought after. The interconnectedness of all facets of life, all human problems, both internal and external, have an impact on each other. And when solving these problems of all areas of personal life must be taken into account and be in tune with one another. An understanding of this is especially valuable when one recognizes that a person's spiritual life is the main focus and fundamental importance, and it plays a critical role in solving external problems. If the mind is infatuated with something, one does not see associated problems accurately. When thinking is dominated by ignorance and craving, or when it is distorted by conceit and fixed opinion, one is unable to reflect on problems correctly. Besides solving problems in the wrong manner, one may intensify them or create new problems. For this reason, cleansing the mind and purifying wisdom, clearing up distortion and prejudice, is necessary for solving all kinds of problems, internal and external, irrespective of time and place. If people are unable to address internal spiritual problems, they will be unable to effectively solve external social problems. But if they can resolve fundamental spiritual problems, the task of dealing with external problems will be greatly simplified. Their skill and readiness to address all kinds of problems will be enhanced. Different levels of conducting one's life. Buddhism recognizes that human society consists of people at different stages of spiritual development. Moreover, nevertheless, it recognizes distinction in how people live their life. The difference between the lay community and the monatistic sangha, which provides an opportunity for certain individuals to voluntarily live a unique way of life. The life of a layperson emphasizes social relationship and earning a livelihood. The monastic life emphasizes spiritual practice. Although the Vinaya provides methods for addressing social issues, the monastic life gives a relative more emphasis to a person's internal life. For this reason, it would be inappropriate to use the teaching to address monks as a measuring stick for the universal Buddhist outlook on dealing with life's problems. The nature of all sentient beings. One tenet of Buddhism is that human beings rely on spiritual cultivation. At any one time, it is natural that different individuals at varying levels of development in terms of physical development, interpersonal development, and mental development and wisdom development. Different people thus have different needs, both in terms of material needs and spiritual needs. They also have different requirements in relation to happiness. It is important that one acknowledges the difference between people and recognizes how people exist at varying stages of spiritual development. It is unrealistic and unhelpful to expect people to all be the same. Individuals in position of leadership or responsibility should see the material, social, intellectual needs of people in their communities. In that way that it is fair and just. In this way, all individuals who are naturally at all different levels, stages of development, will abide in peace and happiness. And vitally, one needs to satisfy and share needs of all human beings, of the need of spiritual development. You see, one needs to establish social frameworks, even on the global scale. They are conducive and favorable to spiritual development at all the time, so they have the opportunity to realize the highest goal in spiritual life, even to the point of cultivating perfect wisdom. If one fulfills these requirements, one is in harmony with the principles of Buddhism. Now, the summary of this: Buddhism teaches people to solve problems by themselves, by dealing directly with their causes and conditions. This is an injunction is to non-specific. It covers both internal and external problems according to their circumstances. Generally speaking, the formal study of the arts and sciences and other academic pursuits focus solely on solving external problems. They almost completely neglect spiritual matters, which result in incomplete or defective solution for human dilemmas. One can say that the Buddhist way of solving problems does not exclusively deal with either internal or external matter, but it begins to focus inwardly and then moves outward. One must solve all problems, both internal and external, and then solve them at their root causes. This is the end of chapter 19.7. We will pick up in the middle on page 1935 and chapter 19.8, Outstanding Benefits of the Four Noble Truths, Buddha Dhamma.